what really resonated with me is something I talk to my kids about, which is almost exactly the same thing you guys talk about in here, is never missing the opportunity to make somebody's day. And I try to pass that along to the kids, like go out of your way, even if it's just by a little bit or a lot sometimes, but to make somebody's day. Because there's so much power in that for that person. For you, it might be 1 second, 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever it might be. But to them, they will think about that the rest of their day. They
and I'll tell you,
they'll pay it forward.
And I'll tell you, Jack, like one thing that's crazy about the Danny story, and I don't really remember this. When I was 25, I was a janitor at this place called the West Hollywood Drug and Alcohol Center. And it was madness. It was mayhem. Like it was a wild time in these kind of 12-step meeting situations in LA. And this was a wild place. Everyone was invited. Some people had no time or one time, or people were coming in off the street and stealing the coffee money and fighting a lot. And Danny came in, and at the time he had a lot of time. And he says he remembers meeting me there and saying, "How are you?" And I was just snapping at him, which I can't imagine ever snapping at him. And he said, "And look, 30 years later, we're sitting here together talking about this bestseller of his life that we worked on together. And if Danny wasn't the kind of guy who would go the extra mile, who would give someone the benefit of some kind of doubt, who was the kind of guy, when we did Reindeer Games together, my first son was 4 days old. I'd just taken him back from the hospital. And I knew that there was interest in me for the movie, but I knew that the studio wanted Vin Diesel for the part. And they got Vin Diesel for the part. And then it didn't work out with Vin Diesel, which actually worked out for Vin Diesel. It was the way it was supposed to be. And I was offered the job. I didn't have a job at the time. I didn't even have an agent at the time. And my manager was like, "You've got to do this." And it was a tough time for my kid's mom, totally understandably. And so when I went up there, I felt like I was between a rock and a hard place, because I was getting a lot of flack for taking this job, but I knew that I had to do it. And Danny when I got there, he could see I was like the weight of the world was on my shoulders, and I was really in a tough spot. And he reached out and took me under his wing. And that's who he was like, "Stay close to me. I'm going to keep eyes on you." And then he did that thing where we go to a home for troubled teens, or, he was like, the answer to he goes, "You're doing your job. You're taking care of your kids. You're providing for them. You're going to see them in a few days. And right now you just got to go help someone else, because that's how you're going to get out of your own head and help yourself." And it's that incredibly strange, selfish component to the concept of helping others, because you're doing it for you, And I even think my parents, because I think my mother has she has a more evolved view of even the notion of missionary work, et cetera, because the concept from culturally is that you're going somewhere to really help these people who are so lost and spun without your intervention in their life, right? Which is kind of, there's a funkier element to that, because it plays into some kind of savior complex a little bit, which is a little patronizing. But she said, what brought me to Africa gave me the greatest gift. If I could help those kids, which I think absolutely she did, she goes, that was phenomenal, but the experience was for me. And I think that's the win-win that you get, right? Yeah. In helping somebody else.